Guest tonight. Craig, take it away.
All right, here, James Scott Campbell. Here we go.
Hello, you are at the net. And welcome, friends, to another episode of the At the Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave the Brain. Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Chabria, as they're about to take us through 3 sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
Okay, thanks to our At the Net podcast girl, that would be Margot Carter for that. Is it Bonzer or Ripper tonight we're using?
Peter.
What's
the word of the night, mate?
You got to use Ripper.
Ripper. Oh, it's like Ripper. Because there's no ER. You know, the Aussies always say Ripper. Introduction and welcome, fans of the great game. You're listening to Season 1, episode number 106. AJ, can you believe that? 106 right there of At the Net podcast with AJ Chabria on my left. And who am I?
Craig Bell on my right, as always.
And we were talking the great game of tennis this evening, as it
seems to us.
Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That would be one, Darian D. Mac McBrayer and Dave the Brain. We actually had a brain sighting, didn't we?
We did. Our producer was here.
Yeah, from back of the house here on the soundboards. Actually, I'm on the soundboards tonight, but I like to say that kind of flows, you know. Moving the dials and buttons to make us look like real people, real and sound like real people.
Love it.
Are we real tonight? We're not a hologram, are we?
Yes, sir. Real deal.
Also, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Plus, check out our good work on Fireside. I got to take a breath here. iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. I got almost made all the important communication sites the kids find popular today, right? Do the kids find popular? Like, is that any more?
Any podcast, man. And we're happy to be part of this movement.
And also, ladies, if you're out there in the viewing world and would like to read the intro like the Ripper, Margot Carter, then let us know, right? Hit us up on some digits, right? Do you have digits?
We got digits, we got DMs, and send us a demo tape. We'll probably love it and use it.
Well, speaking of Ripper tonight, we do have the great Peter Lebedevs from Perth, Australia, but he's not from Perth tonight. He's actually from Dallas, so he's kind of close to us, just probably about 20 minutes away from us, would you say?
Sounds right.
Somewhere in that vicinity. Peter, welcome to At the Net Podcast. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Appreciate it, guys. Fun to be here, AJ and Craig.
Well, we're glad to have you around this evening because we're going to be talking about a big event here in a couple of minutes about why you're here and all the great things that are going along with the Dallas Open. Glad to have big-time tennis back, and Peter's bringing it back to Dallas, and it's going to be down at the SMU wonderful palace that they have down there. It's kind of like Jerry World. I know that Peter was just over at Jerry World, which was AT&T Stadium, but SMU's tennis facility is kind of like Jerry World. Would you say?
It's always rated one of the top college facilities in the whole country, and now it's going to be a pro tennis facility, and we are incredibly honored and proud to have the top level of ATP tennis back in Dallas since the 80s. Is that correct, Peter?
Yeah, we can't remember exactly what year in the 80s. Early 80s was the last event they had at the American Airlines Arena. And, it's kind of interesting. Our player field was announced this week.
Yeah.
And we had Brad Gilbert, who was a finalist in the last event ever here in Dallas at the tour level. Dallas has had a challenger for the last few years, but now we're going back to the tour level with our 250 event. So a lot of connections, Dallas and tennis and pro tennis. The very beginning of true pro tennis, the WCT Moody Coliseum. So it's full circle.
And that's just across the street from where the tennis facility is now that you'll be running a first-class event.
Yeah, the Sparkling Alltech Tennis Complex is amazing here at SMU. The 6 indoor and the 6 outdoor. And we're actually at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, we start building the tents to cover the outdoor courts. We were there this morning prepping it, taking all the nets down and fence and all that sort of stuff so that because what we're going to do is we're going to cover that with a tent so that we'll have the 2 practice courts will be in there as well as a hospitality village area. So everything's in the same place. You get to the tennis complex and you'll be able to watch the practice, the matches and everything. It's going to be a really amazing setup, I think, and everybody's going to have fun because when you're not watching the matches, you can stand back there and sort of see what it looks like to return a Nick Kyrgios serve or a John Isner serve at ground level, and you'll get a whole new appreciation for it.
What a blast. You've already mentioned a couple huge names, huge servers. Also, Riley Opelka, Taylor Fritz, Grigor Dimitrov, one of my favorites there. You've got quite a field. And we'll, of course, get to it in a few minutes. But, Peter, tell us about your background playing as a young guy in Perth, Australia, Western Australia, and then playing pennants and all that, and then making your way over here to the States to play college tennis.
Yeah, look, I was, as a kid, I was a little jock, just played every sport there was, and Mum always wanted me to play tennis for whatever reason. I used to play Aussie rules, which is our football, and I had a fractured cheekbone, a few broken fingers playing that. So, as a mother, she was always worried. But the way it works in Australia, there's a coach just came into our school and he did lessons during our lunchtime for 7 weeks. And so hey, look, I'll give it a shot. I tried that. At the end of the 7 weeks, I won some trophy for, the best of the group. I mean, that wasn't any big deal with, a bunch of kids like me. And he said, come down and play this tournament I got next week. So I went down to that tournament. I won a trophy there, won the event. And you're just from, I was a try-hard. I wasn't any good. I was just, hanging around there, hitting lobs, pushing a second serve in, just, And I said, all right, I got 2 trophies in 2 weeks. My sister had a bunch of trophies for a sport she played, rhythmic gymnastics. And I said, I can catch Tamara playing this sport. So at basically 12 years of age, I started playing some tennis. So that was it. And the rest, look, fell in love with it. Still actually played cricket when I was in high school. Didn't want to do too much tennis. That was only lasted a year. And then I did tennis full time. And, at the end of high school and all of the stuff in Australia and all the results I got, had the bug to play pros. Financially, the best decision was to come to the US for college tennis. So in April of 83, I got on a plane, went to Memphis, Tennessee, where there was a former Perth guy, Phil Chamberlain, and, he just sort of said, hey, come on over, we'll put you up and see what happens. And this is before, FaceTime and all this kind of stuff where, you got to, make a call and write letters and, wait for those answers. And then at that summer, I, had some ACV points, so I played the satellites that summer. And at the end of that summer of 83, I had a few schools that offered me, and for whatever reason, I liked Memphis actually for game development and that sort of stuff. And so that's how I got started in the US and staying in Memphis. So.
Tremendous. That was probably early 80s you came over here?
April of 83 is when I came over and graduated in December of 87. And during those, college years, obviously went out and played the satellites during the summer and quickly realized making money as a player was not going to happen. I love to coach tennis and had been coaching tennis in Australia, from the time I was 16. So the club that we're at in Memphis had 16 clay courts outside, 12 hard courts, and 11 indoor courts. The Racket Club of Memphis, they ran a professional event there. The U.S. National Indoor, they ran the National Hard Courts, which, the last movie, King Richard, talks about Jennifer Capriati winning nationals. She won it at our club that year in Memphis. I was hitting with her each morning and each afternoon the year she won it. And I thought that's the best place to be. You can see all of those aspects. And so in December of 87, I started coaching at the Racket Club. And then over the years, worked my way up through from, an assistant tennis pro to tennis director to, always working on the tennis tournament in various positions and capacities from transportation, ball kids, player services. And then in 2009, became the tournament director of our ATP 500 and WTA combined event. So that was it when I finally took over the reins and started running it in 2009. So
tremendous.
It was a lot of fun.
So as a tournament director now of a 250, you have been in all the positions that you sort of govern or direct now. And how does that affect how you have employees and the empathy you have for them or the leadership you show?
Well, I think it does. It's sort of a bit of both ways. I know what the challenges are. And so when they come to me with them, I can say, all right, I got it. Here are some ways I went around it. And also when they say you can't do it, I can also say, I think you can because, I've done it before myself. And also on the operations side, because we're building a stadium in a totally different building. We're going to turn the court around and those things. And so I've done that with our builds in Atlanta and Memphis over the years. So, touching enough of it, I know a little bit about everything and a lot about nothing. So it sort of helps a little bit. But I think all of the staff, they know that I've done it. So they sort of say, okay, probably trust me when I say I think we can do it this way or that way. And, look, I did the ball kids for 10 years in Memphis, and that was one of the things that really, really sticks with me. I actually played golf with a young man that was a ball boy for me, and, his son is graduated and about to go to college, and I still have those connections. The ball kids, I say ball people because some of them aren't always kids, has been fantastic. And even our, the crew that we've got here for the Dallas Open, Christina Allen's been putting it together, and she's been fantastic getting it together. And then, I've added a few layers of things, and she's accepted that. Says, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so it's, I think it's good. It always helps when, you're talking to somebody and they've sort of been in your shoes a little bit. It just makes them trust you a little better. And coming to a new city, they don't, people don't know me really, obviously. So it just helps when I can tell them those things.
Speaking of new city, after Memphis, you did some work with the Atlanta Open and the New York Open as the director there. What were those cities like? And then we'll bring it back to Dallas, and maybe you can compare and contrast your experience here so far.
Oh, absolutely. Look, we did the 2014 Memphis tournament, and then decided, okay, I want to do something a little different in another city. And Atlanta had an opportunity to do that. Eddie Gonzalez worked down there. He was just given the job as tournament director, and he and I have known each other for years. And he said, "Look, you do the ticketing and the operations side. I'll do the sort of the front of the house and sponsorship sales." And so we really put together 2014. I did the February event in 2014. I also did the July event in Atlanta, another 250. So that was great to get a new look, new vibe. Atlanta's a fantastic tennis town with the Alta League, which TCD was born out of. The couple of people that started that were ladies from Atlanta. And then 2 years after that, the company that I now work for, GF Sports and Entertainment, actually bought Atlanta and Memphis. So even though I was when I went to Atlanta, I was no longer at all associated with Memphis, then our company bought both tournaments. And they bought that because our principal, Gary Furman, is committed to growing U.S. tennis. And so he bought both of them as a part of our company, and committed to keeping them here in the U.S., not letting them be sold overseas. And so when he came back, we okay, now I'm back involved in Memphis and Atlanta. And they moved Memphis to New York because they wanted to have one of the events in the home city of our company. So we moved it up there to Long Island at the Nassau Coliseum, home of the Islanders. And we had a great run up there for 3 years, getting better and better every year with our attendance and sales and players loving it. And then COVID hit, and the Australian Open moved right onto our week in 2021 because we had the 2020 event. And so because we didn't have the 21 event, the business opportunity changed, and we said, okay, let's look at something different, because even though we had 3,500 people at our final in 2020 in New York, because the venue's so big, it just still felt very sparse, and you lost that intimate connection. So we found a place in Dallas, and it was kind of funny. I made a few phone calls. I've been looking for a bunch of months around the country where the right place was, and then I had a call with John Isner's agent, and then spoke to John, and then spoke to Grant, and we got together in December of 17 of 2020, I guess it was. And all of a sudden I was like, hang on, I think this can work. And ball got rolling, and we are here at the Dallas Open now. So it's been amazing. The funny thing is, when I first walked in, the ideas I had to where we ended up now, I think we're in the right place, but still you can see the opportunities, and we're excited about what's going to happen in a couple of weeks here.
Fantastic. Peter, I'm so glad you connected with Grant Chen and, of course, John Isner and his agent. The plan is to be in Dallas how many years for this tournament? What do you think?
Oh, look, the best-kept secret in the U.S. is the Dallas tennis market. I had no idea. we're committed to a 5-year contract with SMU. We don't want to go anywhere else. It's been fantastic for us. And again, just the city and everywhere I go, people are excited about tour level ATP tennis coming back. They have stories of the WCT days and so many people like, hey, put me in, coach. I'll volunteer anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
I've never really seen that anywhere that quickly. I mean, I had already the history in Memphis, so I wasn't there at the beginning. And Atlanta, we still had a pretty good base, but there was already history there. For us here in New York and in Dallas was from square one. And I'm telling you, Dallas has just blown me away. I tell everybody, and I know you've heard it a bunch of times, you and Craig, when I've said best kept secret in the U.S. is the Dallas tennis market. They're passionate and great players. I mean, there are so many former ATP players here in town. Everywhere I go, there's great players that I had no idea about, and so it's really I'm just so impressed with the Dallas Tennis and the Dallas Tennis Association with what they do down at the Keys Tennis Center and that program down there. Amazing stuff what they turn out down there. The NYJTL part of that. Just again being welcomed with open arms here as I've come to Dallas.
So happy you're here,
Sounds like
Peter.
he's president of the Dallas Chamber of Commerce.
He
So
is.
you're going to be getting a house here pretty soon, right?
Good politician, Peter.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Well, look, it's funny you say that, but Dallas Sports Commission and Monica Paul, I mean, we arrived here and we sort of, okay, here are some, met with John and all and those guys. And then the next one was Monica. And we literally went to the Starbucks across the road and just sat down, didn't know Monica, she didn't know me. We sat there and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many people have come in here and said, we want to really have tennis again. And she's like, I'm so excited to do this. She helped us put together the application to the ATP to do the change and blew them over. Quickest decision on a relocation they said that they've ever had. Just, hey, checked every box, fantastic. So, it has been, I'm not trying to be a politician, but there's been so many people that have helped us. And, Monica was fantastic from day one.
Monica is truly delightful. We met her the day we met you when you debuted that backdrop behind you, May 15th.
Yeah, May 15th.
Last
I think
year.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about SMU a little bit. We've got an interesting question. When the tournament begins, it will be on a court that's laid sort of sideways indoors. Will there be another court in that indoor facility and then the practice courts out under the tent?
Correct. There are 2 match courts, and the stadium court will run in the opposite direction of the courts that are currently in there. And then what they call court 6 on the indoor building, we'll have a court running that same direction that it currently does. And that'll be what they call a grandstand court, secondary court is what it is. So at a 250, we have to have 2 courts to get the matches done. And we'll play as many of our matches as possible on stadium just because we want the people to see more matches. And then we'll have to play some doubles and some other matches on the grandstand court. The seating is not necessarily fantastic for the grandstand court, but there will be some matches. There'll be some doubles over there. So there'll still be some great tennis over there.
Tremendous. And one of the other questions coming through is the practice courts that will be under that tent. There are currently 6 courts. I imagine you use some for hospitality, as you mentioned. So how many courts will be out there? And will the public who may want to see matches, but they probably want to see practice too, will they have access to those?
They will. We're the same thing there. Our courts that we use for our event, they're called Haro courts, which are basically just sort of as a easy description. It's like a basketball court. We bring it in. They're in 4x8 sheets of wood that they clip together. They're resurfaced, and so we can turn them any direction. So the 2 practice courts will, again, run an opposite direction to what's currently in there. That way we get the correct amount of run back for the players, because when we put the tent in there, you can't get the correct run back. So we'll flip those courts, and then we'll put a screen that you have between any tennis courts that you see, that sort of fishing line screen. We'll have that, so people will be able to stand in there and watch that practice all the time on the new courts that we're going to have. We're unveiling a new color scheme for our courts.
I've heard about it. I understand it's a very American look, is it?
Well, you could call it American, you could call it Texas, you could call it SMU. I think you can't go wrong. We're going to do red on the inside and blue on the outside of the court, and it's just fantastic. I think that's a sort of a throwback to all of the places where we are. Between Texas and SMU, and it's a little different. But the players have always said we like the idea of doing something a little different. The old blue and green is always fantastic, solid as a rock. As we see in the background there. But, for this, we want to do something a little different so that when people turn on the TV, I remember the court that had the red court, whatever it may be. Yeah. We had black courts in New York, and that was after talking to John and Patrick McEnroe. They said, look, the guys love the black court, so we did that there. And here we're going to go with the red and blue. And it's everybody, when we showed it to them, and they're like, oh, my gosh, that looks great. So we'll see how it plays. It's going to be a little bit slower. It will be about a 38 on the reading, which is a little bit slower than the U.S. Open. So that's what we've gone to, and they're actually being painted in Florida right now because they'll come to us all painted and they'll clip them together and throw the lines on when they're here.
Tremendous. What does Isner think of the slowish court that you're putting it in?
He loves the slow court.
So will it be this color right here with the Lone Star also too on it?
No, we won't quite get the Lone Star because ATP rules say you're not allowed to have white on the court surface or actually in the stands behind. But it's actually SMU red is the red and SMU blue is the blue. No, John likes a slower court. Look, he beat Rafa Nadal on clay many years ago. He can serve you off the court. Doesn't matter what.
Doesn't matter what. Yeah.
But for him, when it's a little slower, it helps him with his return and serve and getting set up for his first strike kind of tennis. So he doesn't mind the court a little bit slower.
Love it. Well done there. Well, good first set. Let's go to current and future projects, which we've already kind of snuck into a bit. Let's talk a little bit.
That's my bad. That's my bad there, guys. I just kind of keep rolling.
I'm happy you did. That was excellent. Yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, breaking news. We have the color of the court and maybe some other breaking news announcements right here, right?
Tremendous, yeah. Let's get to the field itself. As we know, this is a 250 level, so it's all the top guys. Not there are probably some guys going from challengers and vying for the qualies in this, but give us some highlights of the top guys in the field.
Look, Dallas is a smart tennis audience, and we need to give them some players they haven't seen and things they haven't been able to get. So number one of our things was, okay, let's get something like a Grigor Dimitrov. And, Grigor is number 4 in the world, has won the ATP Tour finals. Great athlete, beautiful looking game with his one-handed backhand. So that was a huge coup for us to get him. A lot of help from Grant Chender to make that happen because he and Grigor are sort of good mates. And then we had John. What we're doing with John Isner is very unusual for any tournament. We're making John our host of the event. And sort of like the golf model, like, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods. So what John was the guy that was, he was in the locker room in Italy and during the summer texting me, Peter, hey, go check out this guy. I've been talking to him about coming to play. Go talk to him and his agent. So we brought John on board and he was talking to all of the guys. And so that's allowed us to, he spoke to Grigor as well. So that got us Grigor. And then he's spoken to the other Americans in Riley and Taylor, and they're excited about it. I sent Riley a text, and he said, look, man, I'm so pumped about coming to Dallas. I love it. I want to hang out with John as well and do some of those things. So that was great for us. And then, look, there's Nick Kyrgios is a fantastic, talented tennis player. And whenever he plays, everybody wants to come and watch. And so, talking to his agent and sort of saying, hey, does it work in his schedule? He hadn't decided. And then all of a sudden he says, hey, let's get Nick to Dallas. So right now, Nick did not make the initial cut based on his ranking because he stayed in Australia and didn't do a lot. He had a tough knee situation. So his ranking dropped to, I think, 103. So we've given him a wild card. We've committed to that because, look, everybody wants to see Nick. You never know who you're going to get. Could be the guy that could play the greatest tennis because he's beaten Rafa, Roger, and Novak the first time he played them. and not many people can say that. And at the same time, if he doesn't feel good, he can have times out in the court where people want to see his reaction, negative, positive, whatever it may be. And on top of all of that, he's just a heck of a generous guy. What he's done for the Nick Kyrgios Foundation for the kids, what he's done for the bushfires in Australia a few years ago. I mean, he is, at his heart, he's a heck of a nice guy. So between all of them, and then we had the other Americans, Tommy Paul and Brandon Nakashima. And then on top of all of that, we've got the guy that went to Baylor but didn't actually play.
Jensen Brooksby, JT,
Jensen
love
Brooksby.
that kid.
Yeah. Look, he is Jensen's an amazing story. I was chairman of USTA National and Junior Competition 3 or 4 years ago, and heard a lot about this young kid and all these things he's doing. And he was in the semifinals of the US Open Juniors. So I said, I got to check this guy out. So I went over to the secondary court over there, and for the first 2 minutes, I went, "Ooh, that's an interesting." I can sort of see why people haven't spoken highly of him.
Yeah.
Then I watched. By the time I got to 30 minutes, and the guy hadn't missed a ball, he'd gotten to every ball. He's seeing the points develop. He's seeing the correct and expected counter from his opponent. I'm like, now I got it. The guy is unfreaking believable, but just doesn't have that, that huge forehand that we sort of tend to see now. Big, huge forehand, huge serve. He had the other things which I and you guys appreciate as coaches, and that to see the more cerebral side of a player. But he didn't get to go to Oz because he tested positive for COVID right as he was getting on the plane. So unfortunately, he didn't make it, but that's allowed him to do a little more training. And I think he'll be more ready because Dallas will be his first event that he's going to be playing in 2022.
So, Nick, are you looking forward to coming to Dallas?
I mean, you call yourself a journalist, Craig. Like, piss off. Next question, mate. Peter, thanks for having me, mate. Gonna be so fun, bro.
Yeah.
Peter,
exactly.
Has Nick called you bro yet? Are you guys that tight?
No,
not yet.
No, not yet. I gave him a wild card in Memphis years ago when he first did really well in Australia. I had an extra wild card to give somebody that was using it, and I went into the press room and said, guys, I just put 3 names down. I said, guys, who are you going to write a story about? And they all pointed to him. So I gave him a wild card in Memphis, and he got a lot of press because he'd done well in Australia. So. He's going to be fun to have here. He really will. And look, if we get a basketball court, take him over to Moody. He'll be happy. He loves his basketball.
Love it. That's his warm up, right?
Exactly. We'll have to take him to a Mavs game. We're doing something with the Mavs, and we're going to take him down there. And I'm sure he'll enjoy being around that because you guys know him and have seen all of his posts, and that he's always got basketball. Loves his basketball.
Love him. While we're on Nick for a quick moment, what is it? You mentioned his personality and how people are riveted by which Nick shows up, whether it's positive or negative. He is box office. What is it about his game that we all enjoy seeing?
He has fun. I know that sounds weird to say, but the tweeners. He plays that shot to as is famously. Are you entertained? He's an entertainer and he understands it. He, that tweener shot that he hits, or, gosh, at Wimbledon when he hit that rocket forehand right at Rafa.
It hit him, yeah.
I mean, look, he got close, but hey, look, it's from the net to the baseline is 36 feet. You can hit as hard as you want, and, that's not a big deal. And then, look, he did the underhand serve. The guy's standing back in the screen. Why did I try and hit 140 past him and do an underhand serve?
Yeah.
And look, if you go out there, you see guys practicing the underhand serve. It's, he's made it popular. He just does things a little different to have fun. I mean, I think he's challenging himself as well because he can play any shot in the book. I mean, he can rip a forehand, that backhand of his is so simple, such a compact swing. He's got good hands. His serve is one of the best out there. And I think he just enjoys challenging himself. So, I'll always watch Nick if he's playing. Anytime he's around, at any major event, I'll go watch him because I want to see him do that special thing, that were you there when he did this? What he did a few years ago, asking the people in the crowd, where should I serve on match point?
Oh, my God.
When he hits the serve, there hits the ace, goes back, hugs a person. That person just fell in love with tennis, fell in love with Nick. That's what we need for our sport. We need people to love our sport, and that's how you do it.
It's tremendous. I love hearing you wax poetically about Nick, because there are people our age who think he should be, I don't know, banned or not on the tour. And I think that's crazy. What would you say to a guy, say it's a guy our age who just prefers the hard scrabble, hardworking Leighton Hewitt types?
Look, Rusty was the epitome of the old Aussies, just grind it. And we all love that guy. But look, the world is changing. We're in an instant gratification society with our telephones and, social media and things like that. And to attract fans, we've got to do something a little different, And I think having a character, look, McEnroe and Connors were characters. Borg was the perfect foil as the ice guy. You've had those guys throughout the years. Sampras and Agassi, images everything, and the guy who just let his racket do the talking. I don't want to say it's WWE good guy, bad guy, but you need some contrasting styles to create a real rivalry. Roger and Rafa are the two that are just such nice guys and ambassadors for the game. Yeah. We all love to watch them play because they're so good at that. But I still think, Lendl McEnroe, the Iron Curtain was up and the American who got fired up, and Lendl who never broke a smile. It's a great story. And Nick is that guy that can, be the foil and play good tennis. It's not like he's a guy that acts like a goofball and can't play. He can play, and nobody likes to see their name against him in a draw. It's like, I'm not sure if Nick is feeling good and playing well. He can beat anybody on the planet. His
ranking happens to be 102, but the guys ranked 100 and 100 spots ahead of him are both 0-2 against him. That's Daniel Medvedev and Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, they don't like playing that guy.
Exactly right, And the other guys in our field, Riley and John can serve such mountains that they could beat Nick too. It's sort of a you don't want to make it sound like he's our number one guy or anything like that, but he does definitely bring people to tennis that don't normally come to see tennis. He attracts the young guys. In Australia, my sister was telling me a year ago that a kid goes to the barber and says, "I want a Kyrgios." When was the last time we've asked for a tennis player's haircut? To me, that's making it. We've made it. A kid wants a Kyrgios. I just think it's fantastic.
I'm going to try that next time, too. I'm going to go down to my barber and go, hey, I want a Kyrgios.
I don't have that luxury like you, but I will tell you, in about 1976, I went into the barbershop and asked for the Nastase. And I think Kyrgios...
Did you really?
Yes, I did. Next time I see you, I'll show you a picture of me. I think it was 76 Forest Hills. I had the Nastase hair, and there's Billie Jean King sliding behind me on the clay. So
really,
yeah, great shot. I'll have to pull that up for you, man.
Wow, I didn't realize you had that kind of hair back then.
I had all the hair.
That picture you've been holding back.
Yeah. I had that. I had the nasty hair. Yeah, illy nasty hair. Yeah.
Did you have the temperament?
I think I did.
Did you really?
I think I did.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You had the real temperament.
No, never. I saw that crazy match between him and Hans-Jürgen Pohmann. And it almost came to blows, on the court and in the locker. It was a rough thing.
Were you there that night with him and McEnroe?
I wasn't there. I saw it on TV. 79, right. McEnroe and him.
US Open.
Yeah, I wish I were there. That would have been great.
With Mr. Hammond in the chair.
Frank Hammond, you know him? Yeah, Frank. And
that
Frank,
was a great match.
Frank went from that to quarters of a boys 14s Grand Prix. Like, Frank was on my court probably a half a year after doing that. It was crazy.
He got banished to the kingdom, huh?
Yeah, sad. Banished to average level juniors, sadly.
Yeah.
But, Peter, let's continue with our second set. I want to ask one or two kind of fun questions from the crowd. Craig, what do you got there?
It says Nick Smith and Nick Kyrgios. We had a couple comments. They were characters, but they wanted to win. So that was definitely something that
must be talking about Jimmy, John, those guys. Yeah,
those guys were characters.
No, there's no doubt. Those guys. Jimmy and John hated to lose. They absolutely hated to lose more than they liked winning. They hated losing, and Nick's he doesn't like to lose, believe me. You know, I've been around and we lost some matches, but, you know, it's a little different, no doubt about it, to those guys.
Yeah, they were definitely
another level.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of yin and yang out there to balance out what's going on. Like what you said, a little bit of championship wrestling. Cause you have to have the good versus evil kind of going at it. But they also have to be players. They can't be just a couple of yutzes like AJ and Craig. You know.
No, Nick is clearly a player.
My gosh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. He can hit the ball, but yeah.
Well, we've spent enough time on Nick, but I want to ask. Each night it sounds like it's going to be very, very special. I know about first of all, my wife's got tickets for Thursday night. You know that's going to be amazing. But Tuesday night, you've got something very, very special planned of local interest. Tell us about that one.
Well, again, going back to our commitment to American tennis, and one of the reasons why the connection to SMU made, so much sense was we're able to provide a main draw wildcard in singles to an SMU player. And Grant Chen will decide who that player is every year. And this year he decided that Caleb Chakravarti is going to be the recipient of that. So on Tuesday night, we're calling it college night. Caleb is going to be playing in a main draw match. That's like the Mustangs playing against the Cowboys.
Amazing.
But it counts. But it really counts because the player that wins gets more prize money, gets more ATP points, whether it be Caleb or whoever he plays. And the reason we have to do it on Tuesday night, just another more than people care to know, but on Monday and Tuesday we have to play all of our first round matches.
Makes sense.
And that is the last possible match that we can play is Tuesday night, so that if a guy's coming from another tournament, anything happens, so we know that match will be Caleb. And the goal is it's going to be, I hope, it'll be Davis Cup-like for whoever he plays with the SMU students. We've got a great deal for the students. They can buy tickets and get online and really support Caleb and come out there that, whoever's playing them will be like, oh, my gosh, am I, if it's an American, am I in the U.S. or am I in, am I somewhere else? We want it to just be fun. And what that does, I believe, is it gives Grant and the SMU team on the men's side a chance to, when they recruit, you could be the guy that gets the main draw wild card here. Help them with the recruiting. It also, on top of that, a young player that wants to be professional. Okay, I'm going to get a chance to do this. Because a quick story is there's a young guy that when I was in Memphis, I did a connection with the University of Memphis as well, my alma mater, and we gave two doubles guys a wild card. Joe Salisbury, who, we all know, and Dave O'Hare. And we gave them a wild card into the doubles. And they played first round, Mike and Bob Bryan, the best team ever. They played, they lost 5-4, did a great job, 4-4 might have been. And I ran into Dave the other day because he's coaching Mitchell Kruger. Well, he was at that stage. And I'm like, Dave, what are you doing here in Dallas? Again, Dallas, the hotbed of all tennis. And he said, look, working with Mitchell some. And then he said to me, we got talking about it. He said, that gave Joe and I the belief we can play at this level. Got to work at it, but we can play at that level. And, Joe Salisbury now, the winner of 4 major championships in doubles, 2 in men's and 2 in mixed. Look, I hope that we're telling this story 4 years down the road, probably a little longer because it took Joe a little longer, but, 4 or 5 years down the road, we're saying, hey, that player that got the wild card into the Dallas Open is now out there competing for majors and, have a chance to win them all. That would be, if that happens, I would be over the moon. And, our company would be over the moon too, because that's what we're committed to, growing that American tennis. So it's really exciting. It's the only event in the U.S. that's at a college facility that has that connection. There is another tournament in the U.S., but they don't have the same connection to the tennis team that we do in terms of guaranteeing them a wild card. So it's going to be exciting. And I know Caleb's fired up, and it's funny, the other guys on the team are, they're all, hey, Peter, you got any other wild cards? Keep me in mind. And I sort of quickly say, hey, that's on Coach Chen. He's going to be the decider. I don't want to be the guy that sort of says you or me or whatever it is. So.
Well, I've really enjoyed seeing Caleb play and getting to know him, too, and I will certainly be there Tuesday night wearing something red, white, and blue for sure.
That's it.
Yeah, it's good.
One of the comments just now came in. It says, based upon today's game, SMU might beat the Cowboys.
Ouch. That hurt.
Now, I was at the game. I think that's a little strong. I was also at the SMU game when they played Tulane that time.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's look, it was a great game.
Yeah.
With the Cowboys, it went from, it was so funny. I'll just tell you, I was sitting in a suite, and when they were about to go they'd just been stopped in the fourth quarter, and this dad and his 4 kids just got up and started running out, and they did the fake punt and scored got the first down. The family comes running back in. Oh my gosh, fake, we're back alive. And then, the rest happened. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But that's what you want from playoff football. You want it to come down to the last minute and all those sorts of things. And I hope our tennis tournament, our last match is a barn burner, 6th and the 3rd, and we have a great final. That's what you want. When you're going to these games and the tennis matches, you want great competitive matches. That's what you want.
Well, Peter, you mentioned doubles a little bit ago, and Joe Salisbury. Tell us a little bit about the doubles field that you'll have, and I'm hoping the answer is yes. Do you have some singles guys who might play doubles at Dallas?
We do. The actual final doubles field does not come out until the 24th.
Okay.
So I can't tell you who's playing, but 2 names that I have mentioned have reached out to me and said, we'd probably like to play some doubles.
Oh.
And so, our host might be playing with somebody else in the tournament who was, and not, it wouldn't be, the 2 serve bots would not be playing together, as Riley says.
Riley and Israel.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's Fritzy and John, or John and Nick. What do you think? CB, I see.
You're 0 for 2, mate.
Oh, really?
There might be a guy here in Dallas that was pretty good at one time. Maybe there might get a South Lake connection going with a certain
Mark Knowles.
Old Knowlesy, so you see, there might be a little smile there going
No,
on.
Mark and I haven't had that discussion. So
he's still in pretty good shape.
Mark, he can play. I mean, number 1 in the world as a doubles player. Mark, Knowlesy's a player. He was, he's on the ATP board as a player rep, and he's one of the ones that said, "Hey, let's have the tournament in Dallas." I reached out to him, and so he's going to be excited to see the event here. And but I don't think he's coming out of retirement.
No, he's so good though.
There's a big German that got anything going, so maybe you get the 7-foot German that
Dirk Nowitzki has
got a statue down at the AAC. So
Dirk is unfortunate. I don't think he's going to be in town for the week. Our tennis balls that are branded Dallas Open arrived the other week.
Oh, good.
And, for Dirk, he came out on the 15th and helped do the announcement because he's, loves his tennis, hit a few balls with John even. So I sent him a case of balls and some Dallas Open swag, and he said loves it, but unfortunately he probably won't be here because he's in Europe because he just left after his number was retired the other night. But
a couple Wednesdays.
Hey, anytime he wants to come in, we'd love to have Dirk come there. I promised him a seat in the box too, so I'm sort of stuck if he shows up.
You're stuck. That's good.
Yeah. But we call that a champagne problem with our company. You got to find a seat for Dirk Nowitzki. No problem. Yeah. We can do that.
Happy problem. I know you're so tight with Eddie Gonzalez, who's the director of the Atlanta Open. I see where that location is, and I bet he will take your ideas of doing something with SMU, possibly with Georgia Tech, University of Georgia.
Well, he already does, actually. Okay. That's one of our things. And we did it in New York as well, but not a connection directly. What happens for us in Atlanta is each year we alternate between giving Georgia a wild card one year and Georgia Tech a wild card the other year. But we don't have a one school because we're not on their campus.
Makes sense.
Where they can count on it every year. But every other year they can. And actually, one of the years, Chris Eubanks actually won 2 rounds. He beat Fritzy round 1 and he beat Gerald Donaldson round 2. Got 2 quarters. Had an amazing run, and I remember Taylor the next year when I was taking him on a tweet. He was like, "Oh yeah, that was a sort of a bit of a wild night because we had the Georgia Tech band was in there and the mascot, the Buzz, was there." And he's like, "It was just a weird, I was definitely not the favorite in home country, So we've got a good track record, and again, I keep saying this, but we're committed to helping American tennis, and we ran events in New York to provide a wild card for a collegiate player, U.S. collegiate player. We had it with anybody that was from the eastern section in that area would come and play the event, and whoever won it. One year we had a young player from Harvard and another player from Columbia the other year that that won it and got a chance to play on stadium court. And look, it's just so impactful for those guys. And watching them play, and they're very nervous when they first walk out, and then they calm down a little bit, and it's just they're so appreciative of it, and it really gives them a we think we're at one level in college, and wow, that's what Caleb could play Nick, because Nick won't be seeded. So, it could be Caleb and Nick first round at the Dallas Open.
Amazing.
I keep saying that to Caleb. Caleb, you could play Nick. He's like, great. He's ready. If you're going to play somebody, give me somebody who's, who I can really know that I can say, I played Nick Kyrgios, or, whoever it may be. And I say that because, I know he won't be seeded. Any of the other guys, depends on what happens in Australia as to where the seeds fall. So.
Interesting. Yeah. Good stuff.
Right.
Well, last question from the field, Coach Craig. What do you got?
Well, let's see here. We can go up here. We got a question about the Australian Open if we want to talk about that.
Let's use that as a bridge to the third set.
Okay.
Who are your favorites in this Australian Open coming up? Let's start with the women's and then go to the men's.
Look, it's hard to go past, Ash, the Barty Party in Australia, as we call it. She looks, watched her win the event in Adelaide. She looks a little stronger. Serve looks a little better. I mean, all of those players, they were on the road for nearly 9 months last year. So by the end of the year, they're just, as we say in Australia, knackered, just tired, burned out, and all that kind of stuff. So she looks good. So you can't go past that. She's number one in the world. So it's, it's not a big stretch on that. And I think sort of your dark horse, look for Coco. Coco's been, she bounced onto the scene, and then she's been a little bit under the radar, but I think she's seeded 16 or 18, and they have been talking about her. She's ready to break through, and you can't ever go past Naomi Osaka either. She loves the hard courts. She loves Australia. The crowd loves her down there. So I think, Naomi and, Ash are probably the top two, and watch out for Coco.
They, I don't know if you know this, Naomi and Ash are slated to meet in the fourth round this year.
Oh, because Naomi's seated so low.
Yeah,
wow.
Crazy.
I hadn't checked that out. So, that's a toughie. I mean, whoever wins that probably wins the title. And I really say that. But again, the women's side, the depth, 15 years ago, sort of the top seeds would always get through. Now they're such great athletes, and they're all playing so well. I mean, look at the U.S. Open. Leylah Fernandez versus Emma Raducanu. Who would have thought that was going to happen? And got the best ratings of any match they've had. Better than the men's final the next day with Medvedev and Djokovic. It's unbelievable. We love seeing these new players come along, and on the girls' side, they're all brilliant. So you never know. Look, there's a little part of me in the Aussie. I'd love to see Ashley win the Aussie Open. You always want to win that hometown one if you can. So.
Tremendous. Well,
because I was going to say, I think Osaka was seeded 13. We were doing Instagram on Wednesday, and I was like, wow, 13. And then Azarenka was down low, former champion. Petra Kvitova was down
20.
Yes, Simona Halep was even in the double digits.
I think 18, yeah.
I mean, there were quite a few. I was like, holy smokes. I mean, this is what you call a real dogfight,
Speaking of dogfight, a couple of U.S. Open champions have to play each other in the first round. You mentioned Radicanu and Sloane Stephens are playing each other on the first round of the women's. Crazy.
That's a heck of a match right there. Sloane is, she hits a clean ball.
So good.
She's played Exo for us. Actually played Exo for us in New York and in Atlanta.
Oh.
That forehand is just crazy good. And, she's recently married, so she'll probably be in a really good mood and feeling good about things. And I'd go watch that match.
Yeah, I'd definitely. Well, let's move to the men's. Tell us who your favorites are in the men's draw.
I think you got to say it's hard to go past Medvedev. He is just so deadgum tough when it comes to on the hard court. His ability to sort of block everything out and just make some amazing gets. I think Rafa has, he's getting a little longer in the tooth, and I think the hardest part for him is to be able to play all of those 7 matches and the body hold up because, Australia's, some of those days are going to be extremely hot and wears you out. And, look, I think Zverev is ready to do it too. He's on that bubble, keeps doing it. And I always believe when they don't talk about you much, that's when you're the most dangerous. And, we haven't heard much about Zverev, honestly, in the last, in the lead-up tournaments and that. So I think Medvedev and Zverev are going to be tough up there, and Rafa, you can never count him out. The guy doesn't know how to not give 310%. So.
Yeah, Rafa, do you think you're ready for the Aussie Open?
Well, Peter, thank you very much for your vote of confidence. I long in the tooth. I assume that means I'm getting old, and it's true, no? It's okay, Peter. So thank you very much, and I look forward to work hard.
Right. And
very, very, very good right there. Very good. and look, I tell you what, our guys, Taylor and Riley too. Taylor's been playing some good ball.
Yes.
I mean, we don't tend to think of him just because he hasn't done it yet, but those guys. They're getting better and better every day, and every year they're steadily, which is great, steadily improving. Not going from 0 to number 1, but getting up there. And if they believe in the process, which they do, I know their coaches and their trainers and that, and these guys, they've got them thinking about the long term on it, and those guys could do some damage. I mean, any time. I mean, Fritzy, in fact, he played Wimbledon after surgery, whatever it was, 3 weeks before. He just wants to play. And so don't be surprised if you see those guys make a good long run too.
Yeah, he's got a beautiful game. I love that you said our guys, Riley and Taylor. Let's talk about a couple Aussie dark horses. Maybe Alex de Minaur or Cocky. What do you think? Kokinakis?
Well, Demon he's one of those guys that, doesn't know how not to run a ball down. He's tough as nails. And he gets pumped with the crowd. He won the event in Sydney, I think, and playing some great ball. He's good. Again, the hardest part for him is 7 matches. Tanasi has just been, the injury bug over those years, and finally, finals or a semi, and then wins the event in Adelaide, back-to-back, hometown. He's always been considered a great player, just couldn't stay healthy enough, beat Roger in Miami a few years ago. So he's got an outside chance. And look, I don't know. We've all been watching, Nick's Instagram and seeing he's been working pretty hard.
Yeah.
The only thing is he got COVID, so he didn't play the lead up. And none of us know how COVID affects you. Some people it affects differently, but he can get pumped, and he always plays well in Australia. So this might be the time. There's something in me that says maybe Nick might be the time for him to come out and do something special. Not that he hasn't done things special, but. In Australia, that'd be great for him.
That's awesome to hear.
I always like the duck, the James.
Oh, Duckworth is your favorite
Ducky.
Aussie, yeah.
Got to have Ducky. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, he's coming out here too for us, and another guy that just keeps doing the grind, day in and day out, sets his goals, improves each month, each year, and has really risen up the rankings with steady, solid results. And he's been playing some great ball, and he's going to be here in Dallas.
Oh, nice call.
Right.
Well done. Good.
Question, just out of curiosity, do you think the King makes it back? Do you think Roger comes back, or see? Just not that or anything, but just a thought I had.
Look, I think all of us would love for him to go out more on his terms than what he did. So we would love to see him come back. It's just. The law of averages say it's really hard to do it at this age. I mean, the fact that he's had to have knee surgery again, it's just it's going to be tough. I want to see him back out there. I think he loves playing, wants to play. I hope he does. But at the same time, he's just got to be 100% ready. And he's always been very good about taking his time and making sure he does it when he's ready. So I would love to see him back out there. I've watched him a couple of times. I got to see him at Wimbledon one time and at the Tour Championships as well, up close. And that's the most balanced mover I've ever seen out in the court. Him and Novak are just make it look like how can they not get to every single ball? I mean, when I watched them down at court level in London when they had the Tour Championships there, and I was just like, that would be the most intimidating thing in the world, trying to hit back to them, because they're just like, come on, wherever you hit it, I can get to it.
There.
And they're always balanced. And I just was so impressed watching that side of it. And, look, you guys as the coaches, you appreciate that, not just the big shots, but those little things that make such a difference.
Peter, thanks for mentioning that year-end championships in London. Let's shift the focus to an event you were at pretty recently, the year-end championships for the Next Gen in Italy. Tell us about that one and who impressed you the most in that event.
Well, Brandon Nakashima was playing some great tennis. and he got to our final in Atlanta of our sister event. He looks fantastic, and I really like their format there. That Fast Four is a different format. You blink and it's over. But I'm a fan of that idea of doing that sort of stuff. But Brandon was probably the guy that impressed me the most because he just looks solid. He's very young. The guy that won it, he's got a huge forehand, and he's great too. But I'm always looking at the US guys, and Brandon is just very solid. I think he's another one that's getting better and better week in and week out. So I like that they, European tournaments always do a great job of all the extra stuff out there. All of the lounges and things like that. It was fun to be there and always trying to take some ideas from every tournament. Like, what can I learn from this tournament, that tournament? So always doing that.
Peter, you're always wanting to do something special. Tell us about some of the special things in Dallas before we head to the third set.
Well, what's going to happen is between matches and between sets and changeovers, we're going to be doing a lot of interactive stuff with the crowd. So, you can leave and quickly go get your food from the hospitality village area, but we're going to be doing some fun things on the court. We're also going to have a few Q&A sessions with players and coaches in the hospitality lounge during the week. A couple of players are going to stop by some of the booths in our merchandise tent. We've got a couple of great brands that are going to be in there, and Jensen's going to go by a couple of times there, and so is John. So a chance to meet the players in a little bit different setting to what they normally do. At the US Open, you can't get close to them, so you never see them. But here you get to be with them and up a little close and personal. So some of those things that people are going to say, oh, wow, I was there and I won this or I won that. And, those kind of fun things. You walk away with something in your hand that you didn't necessarily have to pay for. Just all fun stuff.
Peter, that's gold. That was great.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I was just thinking. Also, I have one other question about a lady player, Serena. What do you think about Serena? You think she'll be back?
I think she will. She's still chasing that. Look, she's amazing the way she hits that ball and the way she plays and that sort of stuff. I hope she gets another one. I mean, I just think it'd be great for the game. And, after the movie, it just told a great story of how they came up. And, I always go back to the fact that, in the movie, Richard was always teaching them, got to speak more languages. And, Serena said her French Open winner's speech in French. People don't realize quite how educated, smart she is and how much of a great ambassador. And she's another one that hates to lose. She hates losing more than she likes winning, probably. And you got to respect that. I mean, as an athlete, just truly amazing. So I hope she comes back and plays some great tennis and wins one more.
So as a follow-up question, would Dallas, you said Dallas is such a great tennis city, what about a WTA event? Is that something that you all might consider thinking about? Not that we're trying to break news or anything, but
no. Look, we always are open to trying to do different things, and that's always on the cards. With that, different challenges come in. If you did a WTA event, you probably would do it at the same time as a combined event to make it sort of more impactful. Because if you had two separate events, it becomes challenging to find your partners and people. Who do they go to and that sort of stuff. So then it comes into some, logistics. But look, done it before, had a combined event. It's fantastic. That is one thing that Monica asked me. She said, hey, look, I've been asked about tennis and I've been asked a lot about women's tennis. So I think there is a good appetite here for it. Not not this year by any means, but down the road, we've got some ideas for 23. We might even test the water with the women's. Not sure, what you can take from that. But, we got some opportunities to bring some girls in and see if Dallas really loves the girls.
They're thinking. I thought
they really
he's
are.
got something. I wouldn't say it's up his sleeves, a couple of cards, but I just thought it'd be interesting because you all are doing such a great job with the Dallas Open, and all the things that are going to be going on. That's music to my ears. I'm an event guy. I love events and things like that. Not tournaments, but events. And you're bringing that type of feel. I think that Dallas is really going to shine to, as they say, as the old Texas saying goes. So they're gonna like what you all are gonna roll out. That's why I was thinking WTA. Wow, that might be kind of interesting. Maybe kind of
happier on it, Peter.
Right,
well done. Yeah.
There we go. All right.
Well, look, you gotta, hey, we gotta look at all the opportunities. Our company is, our founder Gary is always like, guys, it's always think just because you did it this way today doesn't mean you do it that way tomorrow. Always trying to improve and get better. And President Sean Tilger, he's the same way. He's like, we got to improve every year, guys. Just because you did something this year, keep pushing. So we are already planning some things for 23. Depending on a lot of learnings that will happen in 22. That's why we stayed very focused on our main event. And we actually, just so everybody knows, the Isner Foundation event is happening on Friday the 4th. And that's part of our commitment to John, is to allow him to use the stadium that we're putting together for his event as our host. That's one of the things he's getting to do. And look, I'll be honest, we're going to learn a lot on that Friday night. What goes well, great. What doesn't go well, we've got 24 hours to fix and make sure we're ready for that. But that's going to be a great fun event too. And, it's such a great cause that John has put together, and this is his first big event. So that was one of the reasons that it made sense for us to be with John and put that Isner Charity Foundation together. So, and really help them kick off in a great way.
How do people get involved or get tickets to that event?
That's my next question. Follow up. Yeah, tell us.
Absolutely. Look online at Isner Charity Foundation, and you can get it. We've promoted a couple of times in our social channels as well, but Isner Charity Foundation is the place to go, and you can get it. It's the same exact setup, same seating as ours for the Dallas Open. So all those opportunities are there. They don't know that it's going to be a three-man team, two three-man teams. I'll play some singles and then a doubles. So they definitely get, I think it's two singles and a doubles. I think I can't remember, with fast 4 sets, so it'll be quick, but it'll be fun. And I think it's you're going to see some good fun tennis out there from the guys. They don't know who it is yet because John's talking to them in Australia right now. So it's one of those things.
Tremendous. We're there.
Well, if you need a couple of ball boys in case that you're younger.
Ball persons. Ball men.
Ball persons. That's exactly right.
I still got a pretty good arm. I'm not very fast anymore, but AJ, he can run for me, and then he'll toss me the ball, and then we can.
Yeah, the fun thing is we had the kids out there practicing the other day with the SMU kids, and when somebody, I had to tell the SMU guys that, they're used to hitting when it serves a little long, they just hit it back. I'm like, guys, if it's long, let it go so the ball kids can do some work. And they just race, if it hit down the tee, and I wanted both corners as quick as you can get in there. And we actually, it's good and bad, but they both went so fast. There's actually two kids sort of banged off each other and fell down. But I was like, okay, the good part is they were really hustling. Somebody's got to learn when to say no. But so AJ, he'll beat you, Craig Willie, if it's down the tee.
Well.
That's great.
We're breaking him in slowly here.
Okay.
Tonight
we'll work on, after we get through tonight, we'll work on
little agility drills.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to run through some ladders, and we've got some cones. And so I got a couple of drills.
Get the plyometrics going. I love it.
I love it.
Right.
Yes.
So we ready to go third set?
Well, third set. Who is the sponsor, my man?
That would be the great Blair Descaret with Master Systems.
Love Blair.
Anytime you need something for your court, here in the local area, Blair Descaret with Master Systems will take care of anything. Right?
Private courts, basketball, pickleball, all kinds of construction needs.
That's right. Anything in the world of the great game or the great game of pickleball, see Blair Descaret with Master Systems.
Sounds good. Well, CB, right. I know you've got 3 sets within the 3 sets.
Yes, we do.
Let's go.
Well, I wanted to start off first. Since you were a Memphis Tiger, WAFL from Perth, were you a Claremont Tiger? You remember the Claremont Tigers?
Oh, absolutely, I do. I played for them as a junior player.
Yes,
I played for the Tigers. That stopped. I think when I was 12 was the last time I played for them. But I was actually the team called Perth was a team I loved, the Demons, because of my uncle. But I played for Claremont, and now for us with the West Coast Eagles is my team in the National League. Wow. That's Wild Claremont. Holy goodness.
That's what I was asking.
Well
I didn't know if you were a
done.
Fremantle fan or for an Eagle
I'm
fan.
not a Dockers guy. Now my family's a Dockers family, but I'm an Eagles guy.
Well, I'm a Carlton Blues fan from the other side of the table.
East.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
got it.
Yeah. After growing up in Oklahoma with all these Aussies around, and ESPN in the early days, in the early 80s, they had a plethora of Aussie rules football, so I got indoctrinated into the world of the Aussie rules, and Carlton became became my team because they were decent at the time, and they're like
they're very good.
They're like the Cowboys though. They haven't won a lot here lately. So the Blues we're singing the Blues here lately.
Blues are a little shaky right now. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we need Stephen Kernahan back to lead the charge. So.
Well, back in my day, it was Bruce Dool and Alex Jezelenko were the big guys for Carlton.
Yeah. So, but all right, here we go. First band that Peter Lebedev saw in concert. First band.
First band would be the Angels, an Aussie band, as the first band, and Leo Sayer was the first individual concert I saw of a solo artist.
Really? Was that in Perth? Were you there in the?
We're absolutely in Perth. Absolutely in Perth.
Well, what was the venue? Just out of curiosity.
Entertainment Centre, which is they tore it down, and that was now the new centre there is where they played the Hopman Cup for all those years.
Oh yeah, and in Perth, yeah, that's a great. Perth always reminds me of kind of like San Diego. Would that be a comparable city?
No, it absolutely is. That's probably the closest we've got, and it's like New York, LA, and there's nothing in between except desert. So we have to have everything in Perth and in WA. And so we have all of the things that you could ever want. But that's the closest. San Diego, the gum trees, a little bit like that, and the weather. So, yeah, that's the best analogy.
So if you could hear a band in concert, I don't know if you're a music guy or not, what band would you want to hear and, kind of the venue, that kind of thing?
Love to see Pearl Jam. Just love them. When I was in New York, I got a chance to go to Madison Square Garden quite a few times to see some bands. So Billy Joel up there, saw U2 up there. It's hard to beat the Garden. It's just such a fantastic venue. But I'd probably say Red Rocks. I've never been to Red Rocks for a concert. I obviously saw the U2, their stuff there. I went to Red Rocks when I was in Colorado in '83, just driving past when no concert was there. But I'd say Pearl Jam at Red Rocks may be the best. I don't know if that would ever happen, but that's.
How about Little River?
Where I'd love to see it.
Little River Band at Red Rocks. What about that?
Now it's funny you say that. LRB. I actually saw them with one of the original guys in Long Island. They did it at a small place. Good mate of mine, Pete Halpern, took me, and it was LRB. So it's just, I've seen them in the last 18 months.
Recent,
wow, yeah. I actually saw our buddy Reggie and Tony Luttrow. Reggie and I went and saw Little River Band in Oklahoma City, so it was funny. Yeah.
Really,
so good.
I went to sleep.
No. Yeah, they're kind of they're different. They're a little more laid back,
mellow.
They're good bar music. If you had a couple of soda pops and listened to Little River Band, pretty fun stuff. All right, so this kind of talks about your personality, and we always like to ask this question of everybody. I kind of have an idea what you're going to answer. If you're in a band, did you play an instrument? Were you a drummer?
I played the piano very poorly, but I played the piano for a while.
Well, that's what we're getting to, all right? So if you're in a band, all right, and you could be the lead singer, lead guitarist, drummer, keyboards, bass guitarist, glockenspiel player. I'm a world-class glockenspiel player. So I want to know, where would Peter Lebedevs, would you be the piano player in the band, or would you be the front man?
No, I wouldn't be. Look, my voice is so bad, I got kicked out of the school choir in the 5th grade, and that's hard to be kicked out of a choir in the 5th grade. I'd probably be the guitarist.
Yep.
I love the piano, but dadgummit wasn't good enough, so I'd probably like to be the guitarist.
Lead guy, like a Eddie Van Halen, kind of guy, or?
Yeah, like if you're going to do it, you got to be the big guy. The bass guy just sort of,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not a bass guy. I'd want to be the lead. Now, I have no idea if I could play it, but, if you're asking, that's what I'd like to do.
You'd be like Angus, AC/DC. Would you wear the
Absolutely. Akadaka. I mean, it doesn't matter what sporting events you go to.
Yep.
There's an AC/DC pump-up song everywhere you go. And actually, very interesting side note, the original lead singer, Bon Scott, actually lived in the house that my cousin and his family live in now and have lived in for 40 years. So they still get people driving past, pointing, that's where Bon Scott used to live. So AC/DC, alive and well in Australia.
2 in the morning, people driving by and honking, looking for Bon.
Akadaka, I like it.
All right, second part, this is our second set now. We're kind of moving into that first paid gig, first paid job for little Peter in Perth, Australia.
Delivering papers, get him sent to me. It's just a local, not like a, major rag, but it's sort of the area's paper. They drop it off. I'd have to roll it up and then ride the bike out and throw them out. That was That was my first gig.
Yeah, when you were like 12 years old and you had the bicycle and you had the rack, and you kind of
probably about 10.
Oh.
Didn't have the rack. Had a sort of a bag that I'd throw it out from, and I'll never forget. I got complained that I didn't throw it close enough. And I'm a rules follower. I sort of always, if the teacher ever told you what to do, I always did it. I was very upset when somebody supposedly complained that I didn't throw it close enough to their front door. I was like, anyway.
Did you break anything?
Scarred for life on that.
Did you break any windows or anything like that afterwards?
Not that I know
of. In your spare moment, do you watch TV, movies, that kind of stuff?
Look, first thing is ESPN Sports. Always looking at sports first. And then a little bit of, got a few shows. Love Billions. Love that show. And part of it is because when I lived in New York, so I'm like, oh, I know where that is. But, for me, it's sports first, news second, and then sort of all the other things after that.
Yeah. So breakfast, lunch, or dinner? What's your favorite?
Breakfast guy. Grew up, Mum never let us out of the house without a good breakfast. So bacon and eggs, actually, I'll have bacon and eggs for dinner too. A breakfast meal is my sort of favorite meal.
Yeah, that's nothing like getting off to a good start with a little breakfast, right? Are you
That's what Brekkie is.
Brekkie.
Yeah, Mum wouldn't let us out. Brekkie.
Love the abbreviation.
Are you a Brekkie guy?
I'm more of a brunch.
Brunch?
Yeah.
Late.
I live in that neighborhood where you have brunch.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kind of wake up late.
That's right.
You go to bed late.
Cool neighborhood.
Right. That's right. Yeah, just where all the bougie people live now. That's my favorite word now. It's bougie, not convivial.
You guys, when Craig learns a word, watch out.
Well, it's convivial, and I've been saying we're having a convivial conversation with Peter. So I've been sharing a lot of stuff, and that's how I've been getting people because they know it's convivial. So that's always been a word. I watch a guy named Rick Steves, the European Travel Guide. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I do not.
Okay. So if you he does 25 to 30-minute vignettes on all these European places, and a guy, he's from the Pacific Northwest. He's been doing it for years and years and years, and the last few episodes he uses the word convivial, so that means very friendly. so I've picked up on that. So we're having a very
that's wordly wise to add to your repertoire.
Thanks.
All right, so moving on to this. This is a really intriguing question also, too. We've gotten a lot of great answers. If, AJ and I know we would be invited to this soiree in Oklahoma, hoedown, whatever you want to call it, a party. And you can invite anybody from, way back in time or even in today's time. Doesn't have to be sporting people. It could be anybody that you want. Who would you invite to dinner? Who'd be something that, or maybe a Barbie, as we'd have down in Australia.
In Aussie, we have a Barbie.
You have a Barbie.
Actually, it'd probably be a former Prime Minister of Australia, a guy called Gough Whitlam. This goes back in the early 70s, and that's just I was too young to know. He did some pretty cool things, and very historic the way he was removed from office and things. So we'd just love to have an opportunity to talk to him. Look, have to say you'd want to have Roger there as your tennis guy that you have in there. I would also actually Martin Luther King.
Oh,
I would love to have him. I would historically, I think there are so many things there. I would always take kids that would come to Atlanta. We'd go down to his church where there's a museum of all of these things, and just to sort of learn that whole world and stuff like that, and get a perspective of something that you just, obviously never lived or saw, just hear about. Would love to, be able to talk to him and talk about all of those things. And I think another guy, sort of more relative now, Elon Musk. The guy is just thinks about things so differently. Who thinks to go to the moon and all of the solar stuff, and always thinking 16 steps ahead. I think all of those people would have some really interesting things to say and could learn from. So I think that'd be a pretty cool group of four to go and sit down with and spend some time.
That's a fantastic guest list, and Martin Luther King could tell you more about Memphis than you even know, and Atlanta. Ebenezer Baptist, he could give you a tour, man.
No, absolutely. Tell us all of the things that happened back in the day and why. And look, I just think we've got to remember our history, learn from our history, and I just always love hearing about those kinds of those kinds of things. So between all of them, I think, Musk is the future and Roger is the athlete. You want to say to him, what were you thinking, when you hit that backhand to save match point against Ruffer at Wimbledon down the line? You haven't hit a great return all day and down match point, you smoke that. How do you do that? Sort of just getting in that side of his head and, so.
Would we have the traditional Aussie Barbie? Would we have the...
I'd have an Aussie Barbie. Love it. A couple of snaggers, as we call them, and we actually lamb chops. It's big back home. My dad had out the back. We have a big piece of steel that goes over a coal pit, and we'd have eggs on there as well as bangers, and then you'd have also a little lamb chop in there, a little lollipop lamb chop. It's that's the stuff.
Great food.
Would we have any Vegemite?
I got it in my fridge right now. I always have Vegemite. No, guys. You see, you get a little bit of sourdough bread.
Right.
You toast it.
Yep.
You put a smidge of Vegemite on it.
Yep.
Some thinly sliced tomatoes, some grated cheese. To get the great crust on the cheese, you dab it with a little bit of milk. You put it under the broiler. Magic.
Recipe.
I promise you.
Magic.
Good
Okay.
recipe.
Well, we'll have to try that.
But the key to Vegemite is you don't put it on like people put peanut butter on over here.
Yeah. Like you don't go
dab. No.
Yeah.
I grew up on Vegemite sandwiches for 10 years as a kid. You dab it. That's the key. You do the... I wouldn't feel good if I had a big thick layer of Vegemite, so I promise you, there's an art to it.
Boy, that's you just open it up and it's like, whoa, okay. You want to clear your nostrils if you got allergies or something, that'll do it.
Nobody has COVID if they sniff that stuff every day.
No, it's right. I'll open up now. I smell it. Feel good. No COVID.
Like smelling salts.
All right, now this is an interesting question also too, because we can do this in Australia and in the U.S. East Coast or West Coast?
West, obviously, in Australia.
There we go.
That's home.
Okay.
And honestly, I love my time up in New York. Great people, great places, things to do. So I'd say Western Oz and Eastern US.
Yeah, I figured that might be the case because, I've never been to Perth. I've been to Melbourne and Sydney. Those are two fabulous cities. I'd like to go to Brisbane. I'd also like to go to Perth because having friends in the Perth area, I'd like to visit over there. But I figured you might be a little cotton to the Perth area. Mountains or beach? What about mountains or beach? Are you a mountain guy, beach guy?
Got to be beach. Look, I grew up where, our house, my parents living in my sister's, mile and a half from the beach, white sand. You go down in the morning, you go do a little bit of body surfing, swim out there, and then go grab a coffee because there's a coffee store every 5 minutes. In Perth, you go to a different one every day for 30 days and still not see the same one. And, that's beach all the way.
I noticed that in Melbourne too. I remember them talking about all these coffee shops in Melbourne. I was like, holy smokes, man, they weren't lying. I mean, they were everywhere.
No.
Like every two.
We are the coffee aficionado of the world, even though we didn't start it.
Yeah.
I think we sort of did.
Oh, people from Italy go to Melbourne for the coffee.
Just for coffee?
Yeah,
They fly over there, get a coffee, and then head home. Right?
Legendary, yeah.
Sunrise or sunset? Are you a morning guy or evening guy?
I'm a sunrise guy. Get the day started, and I sort of hate when daylight saving comes in, and I lose the day.
Yeah.
As long as that day can be, it's always one of those things. People say, "What are you going to do?" I said, "When it gets dark, I'll come in. Until that time, I'm doing something outside."
Yep.
Nice.
No, I hate daylight saving time. I really don't like this time of the year because it gets dark at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and it's like, oh my gosh, summertime when it gets dark at 9:30 or something like that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
I always like that. So speaking of seasons, favorite season? Are you a summer guy, fall, winter, spring?
Summer guy.
Summer
guy.
Right.
Bring on the heat. Grew up in Australia. No humidity. I mean, it's 110, but it's a dry heat. No problem. Love the heat all day. Favorite
holiday?
It have to be for me. It's Chrissy, hanging out with the family. That's for us. Again, in Australia, you grew up that you have a great breakfast and have the open the presents, and then you go down the beach. That's Christmas Day in Australia.
Yeah,
a little different here in the US, obviously, where I've been for so many years. But Christmas is the best. Just family time and watching, your kids open things up and grandkids open things up and nieces and nephews, and it's just great.
So are you more the beach, like Australia, or are you more like what Americans think of as a white Christmas, like snow? That kind of thing.
Europeans and Americans,
right.
we think of cold weather.
I just think for me, it's the family time of that because everybody sort of comes together and is just hanging out. It's not so much. I still like the warm Christmas just because what you have as a kid, you sort of. I think it gets better even as you get further away from it in memories. But it's just a family time, hanging out with friends and stuff like that and family. So I think that's why I like Christmas the most.
Flip-flops instead of snowshoes, right?
Yeah.
The thongs, as they call them.
Yeah, right. That's right, yeah.
Exactly. We call them thongs. I got in trouble a few times in college when I'd say some words that have a very different meaning over here.
I'm just happy he abbreviated breakfast as brekkie.
Right.
And did you catch that he abbreviated Christmas as Chrissy?
Chrissy, right.
Chrissy. Australia, everything's shorter.
Everything's abbreviated.
Everything's shorter.
Ends in an E or an O.
So, nicknames and shorter,
Yeah.
So Lebby, what'd they call it? What was your nickname?
When I play Aussie rules, Lebs.
Lebs. Okay, yeah, because I know
Lebs. Now, it's funny you say Lebby because when we go to a restaurant, you have to put your name down.
Yeah.
Lebedevs takes you long, so we would say Lebby. That was sort of a family trick. Lebby? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, but when I was a kid as Lebs, they'd be as you sort of calling for a hey, Lebs.
Lebs right here.
Yeah. Everybody, the Australians always call me Belly.
Belly.
It wasn't
Belly.
Craig. Hey, Belly. So that was.
Add a Y.
Add a Y.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sometimes they go with the O's.
Chabby? Would you be Chabby?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Exactly. Tomo for Thompson is a Tomo.
Tombo, Jordan Thompson, right.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I like the Australian culture from that standpoint.
Love it.
Everybody's got a nickname. Nobody has a real name. It's always somebody's nickname. So.
Yep, exactly right.
What do you like to do in your spare time when you have your spare time?
Enjoy playing golf because I can get better at that. I think I can get better. I haven't gotten better, but I think I can. So enjoy playing the golf and just pretty much anything outside. I love doing some walking. Where I live here in Dallas, it's a lot of places around here, restaurants and things to go to, and walking around and on the Katy Trail and things like that. So it's pretty much anything outside in spare time.
That's where Adrian likes to hang out. You hear him Katy Trail all the time. He's always up and down the Katy Trail, so you'll probably see him there. At least 90%.
I think you drove your car there that time we met at the Starbucks.
I often ride the bike over to that neighborhood, but it was one of those beautiful days, so I did take the convertible that day.
Did you have the Birkenstocks and the beachcomber? Were you on the beach?
Probably.
No, I didn't have the Birkenstock. I noticed Birkenstock. I'm not a Birkenstock fan.
You would have noticed.
That.
All right, let's go to the third set now. We're gonna bring this back to tennis. All right.
Okay.
I was listening. Were your parents involved in tennis? Like mom, dad? Did they play? No,
not at all.
I mean, mom wanted me to play tennis, but none of them played. I was the only one in the family.
Really? How far did you live from the club? Was there like some courts across the street, or is there?
Well, it was really there's some courts up the road from the house, just two courts that middle of nowhere sort of thing, like your public courts, and that's where I would play a little bit. And then it was at our school is where I played, and then finally when I did actually start playing in a club, it was probably 4 or 5 miles from the house. Tennis is huge in Oz. I mean, there's courts everywhere. I grew up on grass courts too, so very different look and feel. But I was the only one that played tennis. I was chasing trophies to beat Tamara. So that's what it was.
All right, cool. So now I'm going to test your memory here. First racket. Were you a wood racket guy? Like a Bluebird?
Actually, no. I love my first racket was actually first of all, it was the old man's from the op shop, wooden thing. I couldn't even tell you the name of it. And then I think the next racket I actually got was a blue Slazenger. It may have been like, you get from a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
But then the next sort of, I'll probably say my real racket, which I still have, the Dunlop Volley, which Yvonne Goolagong won Wimbledon with. Yeah, Roche played with.
Yep.
Now, I used to go around, family said, nobody's paying for that racket. So I went around and people would put their, Coke bottles out. I'd go around and pick them all up, take them down the corner store, get your 5-cent deposit, and I paid for that racket and still have it to this day. It, obviously beat up over the years and that sort of stuff. So that was my first real racket. But I think the actual first racket that was bought was a blue Slane. I couldn't even remember the name of it.
I remember
I just remember it was bright blue.
I remember a blue Slaz called either Blue Knight or Blue Ace, and it was Slaz.
It was an aluminium racket or aluminum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that was it. I always liked that. So I used that. I used some. I went to Spalding for a while. Had a Pancho Gonzalez, and then a Spalding Smash.
Yeah.
And then a Spalding Targa, and then came to the US with a Spalding Targa, and then over here started playing with some Wilson sticks originally, and then now with Dunlop.
Dunlop.
So,
Yes, I was wondering what Dunlop, which one?
It's a 300. It's better, I need a racket that helps me more, but I sort of still dream that I might be able to hit a decent
Peter, I've seen you hit a backhand. You're still a snappy player and a good-looking one-hander.
Yeah, well, see, you didn't see the forehand, did you? You didn't see the forehand.
You know what we need to do, Peter? This could just be a photo op or a 20-minute hit. I still have a few of my Max Plies. It wasn't my first racket, but it was probably my second or third. So maybe your green and gold throat on the aluminum Dunlop volley against my wood Max Plies. You've got a couple Wilsons in there from the old days. So we should do that one of these days.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that Dunlop Max Ply, all of my other guys, my coach was connected to Spalding, so I went down the Spalding Gonzalez range. But, in Australia, all of them, the Dunlop Max Play is a cool-looking stick too. It's a great-looking racket as well. But yeah.
So I've never asked this question before, but you I know the Australians do this some. Some do. Do you wait with your forehand or your backhand? We were just talking
for the return.
For your return of serve. So if you're standing here, do you rack it up or rack it to the side?
I'm going to be slightly to the backhand side. Look, theoretically, you've got less time biomechanically to hit a backhand, so you should be sort of, you're never ready straight here. Now, that's probably why I don't have a very good forehand return. Growing up on grass, sort of the bounce is bad. You're sort of chipping and getting in as quickly as you can. So I'm waiting more with a backhand grip and a backhand return for sure.
Yeah, I knew a lot of the Australians said that they were taught to wait with the backhand as opposed to the forehand. I was like, wow, wait a minute, hadn't thought about that until this very moment when you all were talking about
my favorite one-handers. I know Lendl did that too, and he was one of the few, and he must have learned that from Roche, an Australian who had the ridiculous backhand and backhand volley.
I think a lot of guys that have a decent slice are the guys that will sort of start that way because, look, as an Aussie, you serve him volleying to the guy's backhand, so he's chipping. So it's sort of that whole setup. You wouldn't go to the forehand too much, so you're just always semi-ready for that. I don't know. I think it's that way a little bit, Yeah.
So it's like Cashy and Rafter both. They always had I can always remember those short returns. Yeah, they just kind of block it, but they had that Eastern backhand. They're like whack like that. Yep. I was like, so that's why I was sitting there thinking. I've never asked that question, but I just thought,
great question.
Wait a minute, right there. I bet you that he's got that backhand down the line. When you said that backhand, I was like, I wonder if he waits.
He's got it.
Yeah, no, back in the day, I used to like that shot. The old backhand down the line. Yep.
All right, so this one I don't know what you're going to say. I'm interested to see because this could go either way: indoor or outdoor tennis. Are you a fan more of indoor, which is at the Dallas Open, or you played outdoor tennis growing up in Perth? Or
look, as a kid and when I was playing out collegiately, I loved outdoors. I preferred when the conditions got a little shady. Figure it out. Indoors. I've played some great tennis indoors. I really enjoy it, and I enjoy the indoors probably more now. But I had some of my best results outdoors. Because when Australia gets pretty windy, and down at Frio, you're playing the courts down there, and the Arvo, the wind comes in, the sea breeze. But so I probably prefer the outdoor. Tougher, hot conditions. All of that sort of rah, macho. I can hang in better kind of stuff. I enjoy those tougher conditions. But, look, again, as an attacking guy, had some decent results indoors and didn't mind playing it. But, I also like the outside, just the elements and figuring it out.
Yep. Good answer. Most embarrassing moment in tennis. Have you had one of those moments that I've had a few of those, and I can tell you about. But
okay. I told this story a little while ago. In Memphis, Stefan Edberg was needing somebody to warm up with him. And okay, I'm hanging out there, so I warm up Edberg. He's number 4 in the world at the time. We're playing some points and stuff like that, and I come to the net, and he hits the backhand down the line. I hit a drop volley, and I think I've hit a great drop volley. I turn my back, and then all of a sudden I hear this, and he's running. I'm like, oh my God. And I look over my shoulder and he gets it and he pushes it down the line. I'm like, I just turned my back on the number 4 player in the world thinking I'm way too cool. I've hit this winner. Now, nobody else was around, but to me, the most embarrassing thing, I turned my back on a guy like that thinking I've done something great. Like, who did I think I was? But that just showed me, that might have been a winner with everybody else I played, but Stefan Edberg, that ain't nothing but a chicken wing. So.
My buddy's over in Perth. That's a clean winner.
Yeah.
But Stefan.
Yeah, exactly, on the grass and that sort of stuff. But, I vividly remember that. And Ramesh Krishnan was practicing with us, I think, with maybe Robert Seguso.
Yeah.
And I know they're just sort of like, who's this guy that's turning his back on this guy?
Besides the Dallas Open, what's your favorite tournament?
Look, after Atlanta, the Atlanta Open, Wimbledon is just the mecca. I mean, when I went to Wimbledon, it was just fantastic, all of those things. They're also different. I really enjoy Indian Wells because it's so spread out and such a sort of an easygoing attitude on that event. Look, after Atlanta, I'd have to say it's probably going to be Wimbledon. And it's just, as all of us as tennis players, it's sort of the Masters in golf and Wimbledon in tennis, We
don't know if you know this song. This is what we woke up with in the United States. This Breakfast at Wimbledon with Bud Collins and Dick Enberg.
Holy gosh, that I had to take it for a second, but Bud Collins' pants, crazy pants he always used to have on. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was what we woke up to every breakfast at Wimbledon, the finals. That particular song was on NBC with Bud Collins and Dick Enberg back in the day.
Those are the days.
Back in the day when you...
The Aussies, for sure. No, the Aussies used to always, because us was the middle of the night, and, I always vividly remember Borg and McEnroe and all those matches, and, where everybody the next day is out there, the headband on and thinking that Bjorn Borg the day after the Wimbledon final and that kind of stuff. Absolutely. I mean, you always remember those sorts of things, and you're right. That's iconic music.
Yeah. Were you a long hair guy back in the day? Did you have the shoulder length? Borg?
No, definitely not that long. I was sort of longer for most of the guys, but not that long. No.
Yeah, I figured like 83, you said you came over here. I figured that's right in the heyday of hair. That was big hair.
All you guys had mullets back then.
Back then, that was,
Yeah, I was never a mullet guy. My sister was a Euro fashion girl, and she would never have let me have a mullet. So I'm telling you what, you're seeing the mullets now. Holy
you are, yeah.
Yeah, we had a best hair in tennis contest a couple of years ago. Borg won it, but he played Andre when he had...
But Andre, Yannick Noah, Vitas Gerulaitis, they were in the semi. They were all in there.
I found a bunch of guys...
Well, hang on. Yeah. Did you guys throw Roscoe in for the Wimbledon final with the perm?
He had the perm. He was in there.
He was in there, yes. I found that, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
you got Roscoe in there as a honorable mention at least.
Yeah, it was a 64 draw. So I had it all kind of lined out, and people voted on best hair in the history of the men's tennis.
Peter, we had Roscoe on the show, and I didn't have the heart to tell him that I noticed it, and I was like, Mom, the guy had curly hair last year, and now she's like, it's a perm. It's it's like crestfallen. I was like, are you kidding? What the hell?
Yeah, like guys do stuff like that to their hair. They don't just let it go au naturel.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a soft perm one time. I have to admit.
You got one. You did it.
I did. Right before I went up to Utah to college. Yeah. So I always had really straight hair, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to try some curls. And so I was at the stylist. I didn't go to the barber shop that day. I went to the stylist and got a little soft perm.
Soft perm.
Soft perm. Okay. What's the difference between a soft perm and a hard perm? I don't even want to know. But
Favorite tennis player? Who's your favorite tennis player?
You can go any era. Doesn't have to be current.
It could be Rocket. It could be Muscles. It could be anybody.
I probably still say Borg. I mean, look, he's the guy that I was watching. Not that I played anything like him, but his attitude on the court, his skills, his ability, and then probably nowadays it's got to be Roger. I mean, look, he just makes the game look easy. It's that's how I'd like to coach a kid to play like Roger plays. He's just, so brilliant to watch. That'd probably be my two guys that if you're just going from the guy's standpoint, that'd be who it'd be.
Yeah. What about the ladies? Just out of curiosity.
I'd probably, Steffi was just amazing. Slice backhand, huge forehand. I think I probably thought she was the best tennis player I've seen. Just the whole athleticism and what she did. And then I also, loved Gabriella Sabatini with a big, huge, heavy, one-handed backhand, heavy spin, very different look, long socks. It was not. Yeah. I don't know if it's ever been cool for the girls to wear long socks there in Muguruza, but she was another one. So I'd probably Steffi would be my number one, but and then I'll go say Ash Barty now. So come on, Ash.
Yes. Steffi was had some nice legs, as did Sabatini.
The best.
Gabby was like, ooh, there are a lot of guys that like Sabatini. She still looks pretty good. I've seen her on social media. I'm like, damn, that lady hadn't aged a bit. She looks really nice.
She's got that European, beautiful olive skin, and she's always smiling. I think that's the thing I always noticed. She was always smiling. I mean, you got someone that's got a great attitude like that. You want to be around them. They're just fun to be around.
We're rounding the corner now. We've got just a couple more questions because we don't want to keep you too long. And
this is the third set of the third set.
That's right. We're coming down the road here. All right, so
down a breaker in the third. Got it.
We're down a breaker.
Here we are. Right.
We know you said Aussie rules football was part of your youth. What sport would you have played if it wasn't tennis? Probably would it be Aussie football, cricket? Bowls.
I think I would have gotten bored with cricket. Like I said, I never tried golf. I would have loved to have probably played golf. I like the idea a little bit of that challenge. It's me against the course sort of thing. I would have kept playing Aussie rules. I really enjoyed the Aussie rules stuff. I played that up until we call it year 11, but I guess my junior year I played. I just didn't play my senior year in Australia because you play the game on Saturday, your body's, done till Monday. Tuesday you feel reasonable. Wednesday, you're back there. Thursday you're feeling great, and then you got another game on Saturday. But love the game. You see it right now. There's so many punters out there that are coming from Australia. I mean, for us, that's just what we did. You guys get out there and shoot free throws. We get out and do what we call kick the kick. Just kicking the ball to each other. 40 yards, no problem, no drama, just on a dime sort of thing. So would have kept doing that. I don't know. I say golf had I gotten after college and those sorts of things, but probably would have kept doing the Aussie rules.
Yep. If you wouldn't be involved in sports like you are right now, what would you be doing?
I'd be doing some sort of teaching. Love giving back to people. All my years of coaching, I still vividly remember many, many lessons. And I've had many great players who've come through, but I always say that my best lesson, most challenging, but also most rewarding is when I was teaching a group of ladies. It was 70-year-old ladies in a doubles clinic every Friday at 11. And they sort of knew that at obviously that age, they're not trying to change anything. And I would spend a good 30 minutes every week trying to do a different lesson plan that challenged them to a certain extent, kept them going. And then when they liked and they got better at something, that feeling of helping somebody, I would always have been in some sort of teaching in something, whether it be, phys ed teacher, whether it be a math teacher, love math, but that's probably where I would have been.
Yep. I've got a TCD team in the morning, 8 ladies on one court. So if you want to come out in the morning, you can help me out. So feel free to. So.
Yeah, look, that's actually it's so funny. I took a video of the SMU guys team yesterday, just playing a little bit of doubles, and I did a slow-mo video of it, just showing them split stepping. They weren't hitting the ball, and I sent it to a friend of mine. I said, use this with your students to show them where the split step is, and even though the two guys, are not connected, they're splitting at exactly the same time. So look, having something like send it to your ladies and let them say, hey, I promise you what I'm telling you is right, because I know you tell them to split step.
Right.
One of the great things, how do they move to that volley? They get a split and move. So.
Right. All right, last question. So this is the creme de la creme, the one we always like to ask as our parting question. So if you were the commissioner of the great game and you could make any change or changes or just leave it the way it is, what do you think? Is there something that an idea, a thought that we've had a lot of good answers. There's no right or wrong. So you're the commissioner, just like in football. What would you do?
I would actually. Change our game to be much more interactive. Get rid of the silence during the matches. Get rid of that stuff. as we're talking about what's going to happen at the Dallas Open, there's not a sporting event where there's not a timeout. You don't see cheerleaders. You don't see something going on. And tennis players we've got to be silent. We can't invade their space. Whatever. The reason we can have more people playing, it's got to be fun. So I would, as a commissioner, I would look at some cool different formats for events. I mean, we talk about the fast four format. I'd want music played all the time. I mean, look, the guys all practice with music. Let's do something. I had this epiphany, Craig, when I'm sitting there with a gentleman in a box seat in New York, and he has his little 6-year-old kid, and he and I are talking, and we missed his changeover, and he's got a front row box. And after 2 points, the little kid's I want to go, Dad. Shh, can't talk. Dad and I are whispering. The game goes on forever. The kid's getting restless. I'm sitting here going, this is our issue. We should be able to get up and walk around. Behind the court, it's a little difficult. We've got to let our sport be much more fun and with the fans and interact. That's what we have to do. I mean, I'm at the football game tonight. You're talking, yelling, screaming the whole time.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same, but I would put in some things of allow free movement during the tournament, allow talking. You don't want somebody to scream right as you're hitting an overhead or a second serve. But, in basketball, they've all got the clappers going on them when you're hitting the free throw.
Right.
Why can't we do something? Again, the traditionalists in our tennis world would not like that. But I think that's one. I think also do more mixed doubles. What do people play a lot of? They all play a lot of mixed doubles. The Hopman Cup, fantastic event Paul Kildare ran. Fanny put it on, Mr. Fancutt and Mr. McNamee sort of started that thing years ago. The people love the mixed doubles. Serena playing with Roger, the last Hopman Cup. That's what we like. We want to see a little bit of the, boy and girl interaction. It's hard to do it. But I don't know, figure out a way to do more of the mixed double stuff that counted, Again, it's easier said than done, I do know that. But I think that would be a couple of things. We've got to make our sport, let the people have more fun. Put names on the back of guys. I know they do it in WTT, but, we've got to change our sport. Let's have a look at what they do, F1 and all these guys and how they do it. So I just think we change it up. Those are my couple of if I was commissioner for a day. So we've got a new commissioner, and he's trying to do some great things. So he may be already on the right track.
Yeah, no, good answers. I didn't learn. I was watching the history of WCT, and everything was white at that time. But Lamar Hunt decided to put different colored clothes because you could distinguish who the players were. When you just said that, the names.
Exactly right. I mean, look, back in the day, Edberg always wore his stuff. Lendl wore his stuff. I mean, they're both Adidas. But you knew it. I mean, you knew those designs, and it's kind of cool. And I just think we've got to get that. I mean, the difference on the sports that are growing and the ones that have more fan interaction and getting to know the guys and that. And how do you get to know them? You don't keep them isolated. You let them do things. I look at Indy 500. Went to Indy 500 years ago with my nephew from Australia. Both sort of motorheads, and they're about to be very clear, risk their lives at 200 miles an hour, and they're glad-handing with their sponsors, sitting in the back of a pace car, going around that track an hour before they play the match, start the race.
Yeah.
Tennis players, the day of a match, we can't do these meet and greets, we can't do these things, we've got to prepare for our match. We need to get more people. We've got to have interaction. And, I understand what they're preparing for, but we've just got to say, hey, guys, we got to promote our game. We've got to promote fun at our game. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about fun first, the tennis, having a fun event that tennis is played at, not tennis that fun is had at. That philosophy would be, I think, something that as the commissioner I'd try and do. Easier said than done. Don't have all the answers by any means, guys.
Well, I like that because it's an event. It's not a tournament per se. It's an event. And
it's an event. I want to be seen there. I want to, meet the people, meet the players, So.
Yeah, that's music to my ears, and that's what I think, I can really see that what you're trying to do. I'm really looking forward, actually, to coming down and seeing what you're throwing out there this year, February 6th to the 13th down at the SMU Steislinger Tennis Complex. All-Tech Tennis Complex.
Steislinger All-Tech Tennis Complex. We'll also just, we're going to have digital video walls on the back and the side, so it's going to have that feel of, things are happening. Mm-hmm. Things are happening. I promise you. You're going to see
dynamic,
things out there.
That dynamic look on the sides. That's really cool.
Exactly. Sides and back. I mean, we have a gentleman on our staff from GF Sports and Entertainment who's I haven't done anything with him, but he's got a great reputation, and he's telling me he's going to bring something that's, the fans are going to remember the light show we do, on changeovers, on breaks.
Is that the fellow from Philly?
Yes, Anthony.
That's the guy, Anthony. Good.
He hasn't been down here. He's actually coming down here next week to check out the whole sound system and do everything. But everybody tells me he just does some cool stuff. So we'll see. I hope he does. I know he will. So, and because he's not a tennis background, it might be a little different, which is great.
We like this.
I know there's a big stadium over here in Arlington, Texas, that the scoreboard's not being used, so maybe you can transfer it over. And
not going to be used for a while, right? We can stream it. And just a little side note. When we go to over 120 countries around the world. Every singles match is going to be seen in over 120 countries around the world. Every singles match on Stadium Court will be on Tennis Channel. But when they broadcast it, just so you know what happens, there's a guy sitting outside who looks like he's got a DVD player. That's where the broadcast goes in. It gets sent to London, and then London sends it around the world and back to California. It doesn't go straight to Cali. Everything goes to London and then back, and the whole world sees it. And I'll take you out to this guy. He just sits in this one little cabin, and that's his one job. And everything happens from there. So
amazing.
We could send it to that big jumbotron down there in Arlington. That's not going to be used, unfortunately, for a while.
You know what's really crazy is more people are watching that thing. Because I've been in there a couple of times. Nobody's watching the game. Everybody's watching that big screen TV. I mean, it is gigantic. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It is really huge. I actually sat this year today behind the end zone, and I've never sat it. It's way cool because you could see the plays develop, the interception that happened at the end, and when the 49ers guy ran it in for a touchdown, it was a really different look, and you can now I see what the guy's seeing a little different versus always on the side. So it was fun being there, except that the Cowboys lost, and that's not good.
I just had that feeling in my stomach that we just didn't know what type of team the Cowboys were. Actually, one of my friends in Melbourne, he and I were texting. A teammate of mine from Weber State, he loves the Cowboys, and we were texting during the game. So he was watching in Melbourne at about 10 o'clock in the morning. So he was upset also too. So look
at it. The Cowboys just started a little slow. We got some momentum there in the sort of late in the third, in the fourth. Just at the beginning, it just sort of shell shocked at the beginning. But that's sports. You never know. It's why we play the game. Isn't the greatest thing? That's why we play the game.
That's right.
So.
Well, it's been a real pleasure, Peter. We'll let you go because we're almost into 2 hours with you, so we can keep going. But we know that you have other things to do besides talk to AJ and I.
Commissioner Lebs, we love your energy and your direction and your ideas. Well done, and we're really rooting for a tremendous tournament. Oh, yeah. We know it's on the way to being there, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Tell us one more time where everybody that's listening or going to be watching on a replay can go. Dallas Open?
DallasOpen.com is where you can go see everything, get our tickets and see what's happening for the week, and then the Isner Family Foundation to go and see the event to support John and his foundation. Yeah. So a couple of fun things there. Mm-hmm. And watch all the tennis live on Tennis Channel.
Tremendous. The event is, Isner Family event is February 4th. That's a Friday night. Tournament begins on the 6th of February.
Correct. Quali's on the 6th.
Yeah. So, we're looking for our invitation maybe to be in the qualies, but we haven't quite received it in the.
They don't have a 50 and 60 and over division.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Well, if I need a quick match, I might throw you a wild card, guys. I'm getting behind on one. I need a quick one. I'll throw a wild card your way. Okay. Maybe play catch up real quick. Right. You know how that goes.
Guaranteed quick match.
That's right. That's right. Guaranteed. So, Peter, thanks a lot. We appreciate your time
guys.
tonight. So,
great, AJ. Thanks, fellas.
Okay.
See ya.
All right. We'll
thanks, mate.
Catching up with you down the road.
Take care, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, what
a fun guest. That guy's awesome. Yeah.
Great guest.
Yeah,
that's going to be a great event for the city of Dallas. Tennis in general. Looks like that Peter has a few ideas up his sleeves. He wasn't quite going to make that announcement, but the color of the court, that's going to be cool. And then some other things for 2023. Maybe there might be some women involved in some things coming down the road. He said he liked mixed doubles, so I sit there thinking, I wonder if this is going to be maybe an Indian Wells. Maybe a smaller. A type of Indian Wells, but then might
That's
be
the
larger.
model.
Yeah.
That's the model. Yeah, joint both genders.
Oh yeah, because I think those are interesting events. I think that people like to see doubles. What you're saying, mixed doubles, and singles, obviously too. We like singles, but
yeah, of course.
But when you can combine, when you get Roger and those guys playing doubles over at Indian Wells. I mean, that's Rafa and what was his buddy Mark
Lopez.
Mark Lopez.
Yeah.
He's a trinomial. Mark Lopez, something else, wasn't it? I think he was a three.
I think he is.
He's a trinomial, but. I really wish the best of luck for the Dallas Open. I know it's going to be what he said, 5 years at least, a commitment, and I think
and that's the 5 years commitment to SMU,
right?
God willing, longer at SMU or longer in the city of Dallas in general.
Somewhere. But I think it's going to be a real hit for those who are around our part of the world, probably from Oklahoma City, Shreveport, Louisiana, Little Rock, maybe.
There are people coming from Atlanta,
Houston,
New York, California.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know a few coming from all over, yeah.
Wow, okay. So it's going to be international. We're an international city.
We really are.
Hot damn.
We got Europeans coming. Grigor Dimitrov.
Right. Right. Is Andy, are you coming? Andy Murray?
Craig, I mean, yeah, it's great. I'd love to come to Dallas. I've never been there, so if you're inviting me,
yeah. Your mom's been here. We know that. We know Judy's
Mom was here 2 years ago. That's right.
Yeah. So maybe Andy comes here one day.
That'd be great.
But well, thanks a lot, everybody. We had a great evening with Peter Lebedevs.
Levy, all our regulars, thank you. And those of you tuning in for the first time, hit the like, share, subscribe button, and thank you so much, everybody.
Right.
Oh, and join us Wednesday night. We do tennis shorts every Wednesday night over on our Instagram, and that is at the Net Talk Show. Definitely join us then.
We'll do a little James Scott Campbell exit music here because we always like James Scott. Right?
Amazing guy.
All right, thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 106 of At the Net Podcast. Join us next week. Hey, next week we're going to be in Australia.
Australia, live broadcast from Australia.
Austin Krychak and Coach Philly Farmer from Down Under at Melbourne. They're actually going to be broadcasting with us. I don't know where they'll be, maybe at the hotel or maybe at the Aussie Open. So
we may even have a special guest. I was just texting with Hans Hotch.
Oh, Hans!
So he's with them. So that's January 23rd, Sunday night.
Yes. Also, like AJ said, join us at 8 o'clock on our Instagram channel. Do a little tennis shorts. We always do a couple of legs in the shorts, right?
What's in Craig Bell's tennis shorts?
Not a lot.
Find out Wednesday night.
And lastly, like AJ was saying, be sure to like and follow us on our At the Net podcast pages, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. We have a couple of places that we like to do social media, right?
We do.
And also tell a friend of friends, because we want them to be net heads just like you are. So that's, I believe, the tennis news as it
seems to us.
Good night from Dallas.